Welcome to the Encouragement for Work podcast with your host, Mark Griffin, founder and owner of In His Name HR. Each week, Mark interviews nationally known thought leaders from corporate America, higher education, churches, and ministries. His goal is to bring you great ideas that help engage your employees, shift your culture toward higher performance, and increase employee loyalty at the organization you lead. Each episode features an idea or process that's made a tremendous impact on employees and employers alike. Now sit back, relax, and listen in as he delivers encouragement today through this episode's special guest.
Hello, and welcome to the Encouragement for Work podcast. I'm your host, Mark Griffin, and we're excited that you're tuning in this week. This week, we're going to be talking about work is hard, don't forget to care. We're really excited to have a CEO from Messiah Lifeways, Carl Brummer, on our show this week because there are so many organizations that are looking for creative ideas to bring encouragement to work in 2024. As we all know, it's difficult in the workplace. There's a lot of things going on politically, economically, and also around the world with what's occurring with wars and rumors of wars. So we always want to bring encouragement to our employees to keep them focused. And I'd like to welcome Carl to the podcast. Carl, if you would let the listeners know a little bit about your background, it'd be much appreciated.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks for having me. It's great to participate in this. So yeah, Carl Brummer. I am the president and CEO of Messiah Lifeways, which is a retirement community here in central Pennsylvania. I've been with the organization for about 11 years, but been the president for the last 3. I have a little bit of a non-traditional route to becoming a president and CEO. My background is actually in human resources.
Wonderful.
I think it's a testament to, how important staff and team members are to the success of an organization. We are a care facility, so at the end of the day, one of the things that we do is we care for older adults as they age, and so it's super important that we continue to hire and create a great workplace for our team members so they can care for the residents that live here at Messiah Village. So I have a little bit of a non-traditional route to becoming a president and CEO. Most people, they come up through the finance area.
Sure, they do.
Yeah, we're a marketing area, but I'm blessed in the fact that our business is really a people business.
Sure, it is a people business, and we're excited because not too many people that we have on that are CEOs have an HR background, so that lets us know you have a greater appreciation to the impact that HR can have on an organization, especially as it relates to being a business partner. You have a lot of employees that are really dealing daily with issues with, people's loved ones. I was just currently visiting with my father this morning to celebrate Father's Day. And, as our parents get older and grandparents get older, it's important we take care of them. And I think that's one of the most respectful things we can do is take care of our elders. So tell us a little bit about some things that you've put in place to help employees.
Yeah, I think, one of the things is we talk a lot about culture, and a lot of organizations talk about culture. We've kind of talked about a one-team culture. And what we mean by that is that we're all in this together. We all are in service to the residents that live here, but it also acknowledges the fact that we all are trying to figure out life as a whole. We're employees, we're team members, but we're also husbands and wives and mothers and daughters. I kind of put myself, I'm in that sandwich generation. I have kids that I'm trying to raise, and I'm also trying to care for aging parents. And so we all have a story. And so kind of that one team culture is really acknowledging the fact that we're in this together, both in terms of the work that we do, but just in terms of life. So that's one of the things that we really talk a lot about here.
That's one of the first concepts, which is phenomenal because we really believe in having employees encouraged when they're working with customers, with clients, with patients. So your mission, vision, and values, do you use that to help develop the culture within the organization? Is that something that's important to you, Carl?
Yeah, absolutely. We talk a lot about our core values. We have 5 core values, and we talk a lot about them. It's more than just a set of words on a wall, but we talk about them a lot. We try to integrate them into the decisions that we make. So one of the things that we talk about is one of our core values is decide collaboratively. So again, how we make decisions is trying to bring people into those conversations, because we know at the end of the day, if you have a voice in a decision, you're more likely to support it than if it's an edict from on high, if you would. So yeah, our core values are a core part of how we operate on a day-to-day basis.
And we also look at core values as really being the behaviors of the organization. You can build those into the annual review. You can hold people accountable. You can even put bonus programs in place around the values. And you've done a great job of defining the values, sharing them. And that's wonderful because a lot of organizations don't. And when you don't define them, people pretty much do things haphazard. Have you been able to incorporate any accountability into those behaviors, which are your values, Carl?
Yeah, Mark, you mentioned it. So we use them as part of our performance evaluations. Even when we're coaching a team member, maybe they've gone astray in a certain area, we actually tie it back to our core values. So when someone ends up on a performance improvement plan, we actually tie it back to our core values, not necessarily to be a hammer,
No,
but really
sure.
just to say this is why this is important because this is how we operate. So yeah, so even when we do bonuses, we tie them all back to our core values to kind of really reinforce this is how we operate here at Messiah Lifeways.
And it's a really good aspect that you have. Do you have a value that talks about like your actual behaviors in the workplace?
So actually under all the core values, we actually have statements that in essence help give people realistic, like, what does this mean in the workplace?
Perfect.
Because you can talk about decide collaboratively. Well, what does that actually mean? If all of a sudden I have a conflict, how do I lean into that core value? One of our other core values is love generously.
Wow.
Well, depending on what that looks like, that could mean something different. So we actually have examples that try to put it in real practical terms for frontline team members because you and I could sit here and say, yeah, we understand that. Well, do we actually know what that means when we interact with one another?
Exactly. And you have them defined for the employee to understand it. And back to your point, if you have an employee that's not performing well, they're doing poorly in the collaborating with others, as you enter them into a performance improvement plan, you have the perfect verbiage to say, hey, this is a core value. And you've been aware of the core value. It's all part of our mission statement, and it's actually in your annual review. So we need you to work on this core value in the next 7 days or 14 days, however your performance improvement plan is,
Yeah.
and allow the employee to come up with how they're going to correct their behavior. That's the best part about performance improvement programs is having the employee accountable
Yep.
and not having the manager write up 5 pages of what they should be doing. So
Yep,
that's a
absolutely.
great concept. So we're segue into your next point, Carl, as it relates to other concepts that you can bring to the organizations that's powerful to encourage your employees and show them that we care.
Yeah. So, I mean, one of the other things that we work hard at is recognizing that, yes, we have tasks to do, but really the people matter. So, in senior living, one of the concepts that we talk about is person-centered care, and really the concept is, as all of us, we want the ability to make choices. So, as you age, sometimes those choices are harder, but I might be a morning person and I like getting up early, or I might like to sleep in, giving people choices. And so we believe that not only for our residents, but also for our team members, that people matter and we want to give them voice. And sometimes, life is hard and things come up. So we try to really partner with our team members. So one of the things that we've started to do is when team members get into some difficulties in life, coming alongside of them, providing them some support, either with resources or in some cases, actually helping them with financial resources,
Sure.
just to really show that we really, at the end of the day, care about them as a human being. So that is something that we've really kind of, again, I think we learned a lot through COVID,
Sure.
but I think recognizing that we need to do that more to help team members, regardless of where they might be, to help them thrive in the workplace.
And people do matter. And you are in a very difficult circumstance because naturally, in your line of business and your services, you really can't have employees working remotely because they're front facing to your clients and you need them there actively engaged. So it's wonderful that you're letting the people know that they matter and you have those processes. So, do you do anything in regards to chaplaincy or referring folks to a chaplain, or do you have a chaplain on staff that's able to help your employees navigate spiritual matters?
Yeah, so we actually do have two pastors on staff. Their primary role is for residents, but we just had a circumstance in the last month where we had a team member tragically lose a family member, and our pastors were able to care for them, help them through that journey, get them pointed in some resources as well. We definitely lean on that. One of the things that working for a faith-based community is great is during tough times, being able to just to kind of stop and pause, even in a leadership team meeting, and lift a word of prayer, because
Sure.
the work that we do is hard. Yeah,
It
we're
is
dealing
hard.
with aging adults, and sometimes that goes really well, and sometimes, unfortunately, people pass as part of our story. So sometimes those are hard times for people to process. So to be able to come together and pray together in the circumstances that we face I think it's life giving to our team members.
Sure.
Even those that would say that they have little or no faith, they very much appreciate the spiritual roots that we have as an organization.
That's excellent because you're right. It is a very difficult circumstance to be in for all your employees, whether they're a Christ follower or not. But it is a great way for them to understand, too, how what Christians believe, salvation message, and that type of thing. And it's really through your leadership and other Christians that work within your organization that what a challenge. You got to demonstrate what it is like to be a Christ follower. And that's a beautiful way of sharing faith in the marketplace without hurting people's feelings or hurting people. We definitely don't want to do that as believers.
Yeah.
Some of the best things is just being positive when no one else is being positive, and people saying, well, why are you positive if, we have all this negativity? Well, I know the end of the story and it's going to be rough, but this isn't my home. My home is in heaven, and eventually I'm going to get there. And that provides great encouragement. So
Yeah, I'm a firm believer in how you treat people is your best testimony. So, one of the things that people laugh at is, when I walk down the hall of our community, I make sure I say good morning, smile,
sure,
greet people, chit chat with them. Again, I think it's the joy of Christ that.
it is the joy of
Yeah,
Christ.
and I think that makes a difference because at the end of the day, again, I one of my Achilles heel is trying to remember everyone's name.
Of course.
But calling someone by name and asking them how their day is going, and actually truly taking that 30 seconds to show that you care about someone in that conversation is my way of sharing Christ's love with them in that moment.
It's so important because again, in a world of so much negativity, people need to see that, and they need to understand that we're not scared. We know the message and we know where we're going.
Yeah.
It's a great testimony. So what other insights do you have that you could offer our listeners? I wanted to add one more thing. In your last comments, you were talking about, people matter and making them feel good as you, hello, goodbye, thanks for a great day. And that's a common theme on our podcast. It comes up almost every episode without me prompting it. And that's really important that you're aware of that as we approach our employees, that we need to be positive, we need to be uplifting, and we need to get them to the next level, because people are always going to remember how you make them feel, but they're not always going to remember what you say. And that's a saying that's come up the last couple months that I think is really important as God's equipping the saints for these days. So great insight, Carl.
Yeah, I think, spending time with, in my case, both with team members and the residents is one of the best ways you can show that you care. It's meeting them where they're at. It's being positive, encouraging, being realistic. And again, I think that's one of the reasons why I say work's hard.
Yes,
We're trying to do
it is
more
hard.
with less. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
Every industry, I'm sure most people that come on, we wish we had more staff.
Every industry is struggling. It's very, very difficult. So we have a couple more minutes left. So let's go to your last point on how we can help people be more encouraging at work.
Yeah, I think, acknowledging the fact, kind of you started off, the world's hard. There's a lot of things in our environment. And I think we as Christ followers, as faith-based organization, in our case, is really continuing to work hard at giving people hope, helping them think about hope that we have in Christ, but also hope for themselves. So giving opportunities for growth, providing opportunities for training. One of the things that we've really leaned in hard is creating opportunities for people to move up in our organization. But in some cases, it might mean the only way they can move up is to go somewhere else, and we send them off with blessings.
Amen. And that was another theme that came up. We should bless all our employees, even if they leave. We should allow them to go where God's calling them to go, not where we're calling them to go. So if it means we train them up, that's a blessing, and they can go bless some other people somewhere else. I see the most impactful companies being able to do that.
And we have a number of people that have left and then they've come back.
Yes.
And they said, that was good for a season, but I miss the community that I have here at Messiah Lifeways. And because we send them with blessings, they're more likely to come back than if we, kind of sent them off packing with kind of negative feelings.
Sure.
So we appreciate when people come back and say, you know what, I missed my family here and this community. So it works both ways.
Yep.
So yeah, it is. I think that's an important part of caring for people is helping them grow. And sometimes that might mean they grow somewhere else. We'd rather them stay here, but at the end of the day, if that's the right thing for them, we want to send them off well.
That's wonderful. And I see organizations thrive when they do that. I've watched many organizations do that. And you're right. Sometimes people just need a break though, too. Yep. They could go away for a year and come back. It's stressful, the work that your employees do. It can be
for sure.
hard on the heart, and it's great to give them time off, sabbaticals and whatnot.
Yeah.
Well, Carl, you've been a great guest. We really appreciate you coming on our podcast. Is there any other comments you'd like to give our listeners before we sign off?
No, it's been great to be a part of it. I think my final thought would be the work that we do regardless of industry in today's world is really hard. Take the time to really invest in team members. In our cases, our customers, our residents, make sure that they know that as leaders, we care about them.
That is an excellent closing comment, because I want to remind the listeners, when Christ went out to give the message to the disciples, the majority of the time was in the marketplace. It wasn't in the churches and temples. So if you're a believer and you're following Christ, you're a modern day disciple. You're out in the workplace and people are looking at you. You have a great responsibility. So I pray all the listeners that are listening today have great encouragement to be faithful, to love all their employees, to encourage them. And I thank you again, Carl, for being on the broadcast, and we'll have you back in a couple more months. God bless.
Thanks.
Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
This episode of Encouragement for Work has been brought to you by Job Shepherd. Post-COVID-19 recruitment has been unquestionably hard for employers, with many struggling to find quality employees in the aftermath. Religious exempt employers have had an especially difficult time. Welcome to Job Shepherd, a platform that will change all of this for you. Job Shepherd was created to meet the demand by Christian employers, including ministries, camps, churches, colleges, and Christian for-profit companies in their search for qualified job candidates. Now, for a limited time only, employers post a job for free. Job seekers, come join us. You are always free. Learn more at www.jobshepherd.com.